Hi there, Rob here, and today I'm going to do a movie review for Defiance, directed by Edward Zwick.
Movie Review by Rob.
Defiance was directed by Edward Zwick. Came out in 2008, this past year, and Edward Zwick, as you might know, directed Blood Diamond, The Last Samurai, which he also wrote, and Legends of the Fall. So I went into this film actually a little late because a lot of people had already seen it. So I had gotten a lot of feedback from people of what they thought about it already. They said it was amazing, outstanding. It was a real tearjerker, and I kind of went into it expecting that. It was also written by Clayton Frohmine in addition to Edward Zwick. It stars Daniel Craig, which you might have known most recently. He was the new James Bond in the past, Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace. And it also stars Liev Schreiber, who is in the upcoming X-Men Origins Wolverine. But whenever I see him, I know he was in the Sum of All Fears, but I always think back to Scream, the original Scream movie, or he's in it for like 2 seconds as Cotton Weary, and he comes back in Scream 2 and 3. But as far as performance-wise, their performances are excellent. I was really worried about Daniel Craig's performance because I've kind of already in those past two movies typecasted him in my mind as James Bond. On a side note, I don't really care for his James Bond, so a lot of people would be like, yeah, this is going to be great. It's an action movie, maybe, something like that. But not the case. But I think his performance was good. I didn't associate him with that character at all. To go into the basic plot, without ruining too much, it's about three Jewish brothers who escape from basically a Nazi-controlled Poland, and they go and they run into the forests that surround them to hide during World War II. In doing so, they along the way pick up many other Jewish escapees, and they have to basically feed them while taking care of themselves, and they make like a little militia, they take camps and they move constantly and they gather food, and it's like really hard times. A few of them even have to join a Russian resistance movement to stay alive and get fed. So there's a lot of conflict that goes on between the three brothers, like I said, Daniel Craig, Liev Schreiber, and Jamie Bell. But a lot of this film, I felt like, and a lot of people are going to hate me for saying this because, like I said, they said it was excellent and all, and I went into it thinking it was going to be excellent, but I felt like I had seen this before. It's kind of like sports movies to me, where unless you have something really unique, and I agree, there hasn't been a film about people hiding out in the woods that I can recall of, but the World War II and the Jewish, like I had just seen Valkyrie this past month, and I know there's countless other movies dealing with World War II, and I don't think that they should stop being made or anything. I just think that I'm kind of burnt out on them. So I'm sitting there, and I understand this, and I understand, the concept, and I do feel for these characters. Their performances really did get this across. But pacing-wise, this was like a story that, I would read about in an article, go, wow, that's really horrible, and then I would move on. I wouldn't sit there this had a runtime of 137 minutes, sit there and watch this, because I really didn't see a point to it. Valkyrie it had a point where the movie I play it up as a Ocean's 11 type plot, where you got a group of people and they're planning on this big heist, which in that case was to assassinate Hitler, and it's leading up to that. You're seeing how they're going to do it, and then it either gets done or it doesn't, and that's the plot. This was just people hiding out in the woods, and unless they didn't have a specific group that they were going to attack, it was just about survival, which is a very compassionate story. But as far as movie-wise, unless you're going to end the war, or unless there's a destination they have to reach, there wasn't. The whole idea is just to survive, and they don't know how long. And I'm going to tell you a little bit. I'm not going to tell you who dies, who lives, and whatnot. Everybody knows this is based off true events and true stories. So at the end of the movie, it simply says, and they stayed in the forest for 2 more years. So this was just an excerpt of that time period, which, like I said, it very compelling, but cinematically, it leaves the audience like, oh, okay, so that happened, okay. what happened the other 2 years. Nothing important, you know. So pacing was definitely a problem. A lot of pacing problems. There would be a couple, I don't want to say action scenes, but there would be, you know, some heart pumping scenes where you'd be into it and you're like wondering if certain characters are going to be killed or whatnot. And then other scenes, it's just talking for a very long time. And I understand that you need dialogue, and I'm a big fan of dialogue, but some of this dialogue just didn't serve a purpose to move anything forward. You know, it was just playing on these are Jewish people living in hard times. So, funny story, somebody was sleeping in the theater, like the entire movie. Like all these big, like, emotional points in the film, and all I hear is some guy sleeping in the back. So, I think I'm not the only one who felt like this was a little boring. So, I'm gonna give this, for my overall review, I'm gonna give this 2.5 burgers. 2.5 burgers. I think pacing really hurt it. Overall plot development, like I said, very good. The acting was very good, but it just doesn't go anywhere. And I'm sorry, like, I'm not criticizing, like, I understand when you have a lot behind it. That's like a movie about, like, United 93 or whatever, was about the plane crash that crashed in the field where during 9/11, and that didn't get very good reviews, and that was about a very traumatic event. So I think just because something's about a traumatic event and a traumatic experience, and a moment in history and time, doesn't mean that it's going to be a good film. So a lot of people shouldn't be blinded by that. They really need to look at the film in general. I mean, if definitely older audiences and all, if you want to go to a film and be reminded of this time and really, because it does pay homage to these people, it does pay tribute to them, but it just doesn't do anything for the people who didn't experience it and the people who don't have that culture behind them. So keep movies like this coming, and remember, I'll be watching.